2022 Hillsborough Board of Education meeting. In accordance with the state's Sunshine Law of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education was provided on January 20th, 2022 to the Hillsborough Beacon and Courier News. Can we take a roll?
Mr. Albanese? Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Ms. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Kidd?
Here.
Ms. Lane Bader?
Here.
Mr. Marini?
Here.
Ms. Nurse?
Here.
Mr. Oliver?
Here.
Ms. Trujillo?
Here.
All right,
Thank you.
let's-
I'm sorry.
we have a quorum. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before moving into executive session, we have one resolution to read. Whereas the Hillsborough Township Board of Education Board has been notified by Board Member Jason Albanese that he is unavailable to attend the meeting this evening due to unforeseen circumstances that prevents his in-person participation in the meeting. And whereas the board operates most effectively when all board members are present to participate in a meeting and to vote on actions set forth in the board's agenda, and whereas the board has legal authority to permit board members to participate remotely, provided they are present and participate for the entire meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that the board authorizes the absent board member, Jason Albanese, to participate in the board's meeting this evening by remote access via telephone, speakerphone, and or Google Meet, or alternative form of remote communication, provided the trustee Albanese can hear the discussion that takes place at the meeting by other board members and members of the public, and the public can hear the comments and vote of the trustee Albanese who is participating remotely. Can I get a roll?
I need a move.
Sorry, can I get a motion and second?
So moved. Second.
Can I ask
Any
a
comment?
question? Yes, I do. Is he on telephone only, or is he going up on the screen?
He's going to be on the Google Meet, so equivalent of telephone. He will not be up on the screen.
He would not be on his screen. Okay.
Okay. Mr. Albanese?
He wouldn't vote for this.
Okay. Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Kidd?
Yes.
Ms. Lane Bader?
Yes.
Mr. Marini?
Yes.
Ms. Nurse?
No.
Mr. Oliver?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. All right. We'll have a motion to move into executive session.
So moved. Second.
Okay, let me read the following. Whereas the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975 provide that a public body may exclude the public from that portion of the meeting of which the public body discusses certain matters for which confidentiality is required as permitted in Section 7B of the Act. Resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Hillsborough and the County of Somerset and the State of New Jersey as follows. The matters to be discussed are a legal update, a personnel matter, and a student residency matter. The matters discussed in executive session shall be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. I know we had a motion and a second. Do we have any comments? Okay, we'll take roll.
Mr. Albanese?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Kidd?
Yes.
Ms. Lane Bader?
Yes.
Mr. Marini?
Yes.
Ms. Nurse?
Yes.
Mr. Oliver?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we will now come back in approximately 1.5 hours.
Mr. Albanese?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Ms. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Kidd?
Here.
Ms. Lanning Bader?
Here.
Ms. Nurse?
Here.
Mr. Oliver?
Here.
Ms. Trujillo? Here. Mr. Marini?
Here.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. Good evening. In an effort to be as transparent as possible, I would like to discuss the following items as it relates to the board's agenda and happenings, and as it relates to the board. I will discuss the following: social media, school calendar, input on the 2022-2023 school budget, today's agenda, new business administrator, and special counsel. Social media. For an avoidance of doubt, many board members see your posts on local Facebook groups. I took a count today, and I am in 10 local groups, not counting those specifically dedicated to being a yard sale site. While we do our best to monitor those, all comments and questions to which you would like board responses are best sent to boe@https.us. While this does not mean that every request can be answered to your satisfaction, it is the primary vehicle for back and forth communication. As president, I can post responses in these forums, but as a matter of practice, I generally will not. That being said, we do our best to monitor those, and we'll do our best to address those in these meetings as I am doing now. Communication is of the utmost importance to this board, And these meetings are the primary vehicle for responses, which allows for the greatest chance of fair and uniform public consumption. Now, to immediately contradict myself, I will make best efforts to post links to meeting agendas and other items of public interest to some of these forums. We do want as much public interaction with the board as possible in order to make true progress, so I will begin posting to enable awareness. Feel free to share these posts to other message boards to which I do not post. Next, school calendar. First, some background. When the calendar is generated, we work within some guidelines. We must include 180 education days. We provide 5 teacher in-service days plus New Jersey Teacher Convention days. We start no earlier than September 1st for in-service days. We are off for the last week of December for winter break. We are off for 1 week for spring break, and we are off on election days for concerns related to building security and child safety. In addition to these, we are closed on dates that relate to certain school calendar holidays throughout the year. We have seen online and through the board emails that the holiday of Diwali has been raised as a concern. Unfortunately, based on the aforementioned guidelines, this will require some further consideration. We have asked administration to see if we can adjust the graduation date, moving it out by 1 day, and there is availability at the venue to do so. The Education Committee will then review the new proposed calendar and will present a new calendar for board approval at a February board meeting. I would like to thank the community for raising this issue to the board's attention. Next, input on the 2022-2023 school budget. It was pointed out that the input form on the district website was unable to be accessed in certain situations. This has been addressed. We asked the community to provide feedback on the budget through that form on the BOE website, which is very simply https://us. Look for something that states input on the 2022-2023 school budget. Next, today's agenda. Those reviewing tonight's agenda will see that it is pretty hefty under operations specifically. This is due to the fact that the board has been without a full-time or interim BA for approximately 1 month, and we are getting up to speed and making ourselves current. Thank you for your understanding. On the topic of a new business administrator, we are excited to have Jerry Eckert's appointment on the agenda tonight. Jerry comes most recently from the Randolph School District, where he has served since 2014 and is very well respected. Jerry tentatively expects to join us on or around May 1st after satisfying commitments to his existing district. And Hillsborough will now begin our search for an assistant business administrator. Last, but certainly not least, we have a walk-on agenda item for the addition of special counsel. As most of the community is aware, there's an ongoing forensic audit taking place, and the board has chosen, in consultation with our existing board attorney, to engage independent special counsel to conduct an internal investigation once we receive the findings of the financial audit. As of this time, there are no additional items to share, but we wanted the community to be aware of that action and to explain why this late addition was made to the agenda. Thank you. So to that end, we are going to enter the walk-on resolution, and read as follows. Whereas the Hillsborough Township Board of Education is in need of legal services to conduct an internal investigation of certain matters relating to the finance of the Hillsborough Township School District, and whereas the law firm of David B. Rubin Esquire of David B. Rubin PC has the expertise and experience to provide professional services to the board, whereas the board is desirous of appointing the law firm of David B. Rubin PC to represent the board in internal investigation, now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby appoints David B. Rubin PC as special counsel to represent the board in the internal investigation an hourly rate of $185 per hour plus reimbursement, which is attached hereto and made a part hereof. Board President and the interim business administrator, board secretary are hereby authorized to execute the agreement for special counsel services and any and all other documents necessary to effectuate the terms of this resolution. The interim business administrator, board secretary is hereby directed to publish a notice of this award in the official newspaper of the board. Can I get a motion and a second?
Point of order.
No.
So
Sorry.
moved.
Point of order.
So moved.
Follow Robert's
Second.
rules or not. Point of order.
Second, okay.
But who was the first? I'm sorry. So moved.
Jean was the first. Second.
Mr. President, do you follow Robert's rules or not?
We'll take a roll call.
Oh, discussion.
Oh, sorry, discussion from the board.
Mr. President, the stream is not working right now. What I'm trying to tell you, you have a significant number of members of the community who are recording that would like to hear what you're saying and they can't.
Can we confirm that the stream is up?
There's video, there's no audio.
It's working.
Working now? Okay.
Okay, so which part of it did we not catch?
I believe that the audio was just corrected moments ago, according to everyone that I'm hearing from. Mr. Goodhue, I think he also just heard this in from a constituent, so I believe it is now working.
And we have the entirety of what was communicated up to this point? Okay. Okay, so it was recorded. Okay, thank you.
Roll call.
No, we need to have any comments or discussion from the board on this resolution.
I just said it.
What?
I just want you to say it. I don't have a discussion.
Appreciate it. Can we take a roll, please?
Mr. Albanese.
Yes.
Mr. Gillette.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Kidd.
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Bader.
Yes.
Ms. Nurse.
Yes.
Mr. Oliver.
Yes.
Mr. Hio.
Hire the attorney.
Oh, no, but was that me?
Mr. Hill.
Yes. I didn't hear that. Thank you. Mr. Marini.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. I would like to include in the meeting minutes the correspondences received as noted. And now we will move on to committee reports. So I will move to Greg Gillette for operations.
Thank you very much. Operations Committee met on Tuesday, January 18th. Besides the committee members, we had Dr. Feltry, Mr. Roth, Mr. Turner from Summit, and Ms. Basol. We had a few items on the agenda. We discussed adding water filling stations at HES and Sunnymead. We discussed the ongoing construction referendum. This was more of an information session for our staff, asking us how we felt the projects were going and what projects they thought we still had outstanding. We discussed preliminary budget development. We discussed the ongoing issues with the septic system at Woodford School, which is going to be resolved. We discussed line item transfers that you might see in tonight and in future on future agendas. And I think that was about it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to Mr. Kidd for education.
The Education Committee met on January 19th, Wednesday afternoon. One of the first things we went over were the Start Strong assessments for the students of all the schools, and we were able to, Kim Feltry presented that to us and made sure that we had an understanding what went on and answered all our questions. We also had a presentation on the English language learner three-year plan, which is the plan that the district has to update every 3 years in terms of what happens, what the district does for English language learners. So we went through that process, asked questions, and made sure that everything was looking good there. It was also the first committee meeting of this year, so we made sure to go over committee norms. We went over the revised curriculum and asked questions. And then lastly, we went over the calendar, and as the president brought up earlier, after the committee meeting and hearing from the community, we've decided most likely to, pretty much most definitely to not make a motion on the calendar tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kidd. And Mr. Oliver for HR.
So the Human Resources Committee met on January 19th. It was the first meeting of the calendar year. We went over committee norms. Mr. Callahan had a personnel matter which we discussed, and we reviewed overtime and approval for the process with submitting overtime. Mr. Callahan alerted us to the minimum wage increase effective January 1st and anything that he needs to do to accommodate that. Continued dialogue with the negotiations at the HEA as we finalize that, and continued dialogue again with the HEA to start the survey that will work in collaboration to try to streamline that and get some good feedback as to retaining our employees here in the district. And that was it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Oliver. And I will cover governance. So governance was a very simple meeting. We spent the entirety of the meeting reviewing bylaw 0155, which is on the agenda for first reading tonight. And that is the end of my report from that. All right, so we will now move on to the approval of minutes. This will include the following. 7.1, motion to approve executive session minutes 12/13/21. 7.2, motion to approve public meeting minutes 12/13/21. 7.3, motion to approve executive session minutes 12/20/21. Motion to approve special public meeting minutes 12/20/21. And 7.5, motion to approve executive session minutes January 3rd, 2022. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
It's got 7.6, Paul.
7.6 as well, apologies. Motion to approve public meeting minutes 1/03/2022.
So that was Mr. Kidd and,
It was me and
Who was the second?
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, any discussion from the board?
You may want to separate out 7.5 and 7.6 from the first, since there are 3 board members who are not.
Absolutely, we'll split them out because there are new board members there, so I will assume that the old ones will not. Okay. All right, so we'll take a motion on 7.1 through 7.4.
Okay.
roll.
Mr. Albanese?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Abstain.
Mr. Kidd?
yes.
Ms. Lanning Bader?
I abstain.
Ms. Nurse?
Yes.
Mr. Oliver?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
And Mr. Marini?
Yes,
Thank you.
motion passes. All right, now we will take roll on 7.5 and 7.6.
Okay. Mr. Albanese?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Kidd?
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Bader?
Yes.
Ms. Nurse?
Yes.
Mr. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Trujillo?
Yes.
Mr. Marini?
Yes, motion passes. All right, we will now move into comments from the board and public. We very much welcome input from the public. During board meetings, there will be 2 30-minute periods of time that the meeting will be open for public comment, where members of the public are invited to comment, which they may do if they are attending in person. During the first public comment period, members of the public may comment about items that are listed on tonight's agenda before the board votes. During the second public comment period, members of the public may comment on any school or school district issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to the residents of the school district per bylaw 0167. Before you state your comment, you'll be asked to provide your name and address. There is a 3-minute limit on public comment. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board believes there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent will address the comment. There may be times when a member of the public makes a comment or asks a question about personnel or hiring decisions. Kindly note that the Open Public Meetings Act and the privacy rights of public employees encompassed therein do not permit the board to discuss personnel issues in public session. Do we need a motion for this? No. Okay. All right, so if any individuals would like to comment on the action agenda.
And would you just do me a favor, just write down your name and address? I think it's just, thank you.
Yeah. My name is Anu Raghuraman. Address 1, Corey Road, Hillsborough.
And you'll write it down on the paper for me as well?
After you're done, there is a sign-in sheet
I
to the
did.
right? Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
I did,
Thank you.
I did. Okay, first of all, thank you for very much for not approving the calendar this year and already considering to have Diwali as holiday. So we are just here to ask for, make sure that everything is covered. If you had any questions, why, what, we are here to present. I have something written up which I can like to read to you. Okay. So the holiday of Diwali is referred to as Hindu Festival of Lights, falls this year on Monday, October 24th. Every year it falls close to the new moon in October and November. It is celebrated not only by Hindus, but by Jains and Sikh denominations as well. This tradition is celebrated by billions across the globe and represents the bringing of harmony, peace, a celebration to all people. In the last 2 years, Diwali actually fell on a weekend. So we Hindu Americans, families had a blast. We didn't have to go to school, we didn't have to do anything, stayed at home and watched even the governor, firing crackers and fireworks on the TV or on social media. And so did some of the councilmen and mayor of the several towns. So Diwali has already been declared as a federal holiday, with the neighboring towns, Bridgewater and Basking Ridge, already providing families the opportunity to celebrate with the day off from school. We urge that the committee to instate this in Hillsborough School District as well, to declare a school holiday, acknowledging the rich and diverse contribution of its large Hindu population and adding the positive atmosphere to all its families. All we ask is to our constitutional right to practice our religious holiday Diwali on the day of the festival and not wait for the closest weekend. I agree it's an excusable holiday, but with the current population of Hindu, Sikh and Jain Americans in Hillsborough, it is right to have it declared as our holiday and have a day off. This has also helped create public awareness and respect for Hindus for our kids, allowing them to stand proudly alongside Christian Americans and Jewish Americans, classmates and neighbors. Again, I ask the Board of Ed to declare October 24, Monday, 2022 as a Diwali holiday and allow the festival to play the place it deserves on the day of the festival by providing the school day off for its observance. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. I'm doing that now.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Hobson. I am a third grade teacher at Hillsborough Elementary School. I'm standing before you tonight because I know that the board will probably discuss this a little bit later, but I needed to take a few moments to honor a dear friend and colleague of mine, Mrs. Lopa Sarkar, who passed away last week. Lopa has worked with me and the rest of the HES staff for quite some time now. She always talked about how lucky she was to work at our school, when in fact we, the students, staff, were the actual lucky ones. Sadly, we lost a beautiful soul last week, and I stand before you so everyone can know what a kind and gentle person she was, so you can all know what we all know about her. Lopa was one of the most dedicated professionals I've ever met. She worked with us until early December, leaving only 1 month before she passed away, coming to school each day because she loved Hillsborough Elementary School, and she loved this district. She loved the kids, she loved the staff, and she brought a level of serenity and calmness to all of us. Everyone who worked with her, including my colleagues here tonight, have a story about dear Lopa and how she shined a light on us with her gentle ways. But I have to say, my dear colleague and friend Amy Regan said it perfectly, as she often does through her poetry. She touched so many with her life, mother, sister, friend, and wife. The kindest soul you'll ever know, too early to be claimed to go. Her positive energy and attitude always helped to raise the mood. Her love for life, others, and family was a shining light that all could see. To each she had a kind word. Her gentle voice can still be heard. Always a smile on her face, she left the world, this district, and this community a better place. At her wake and her funeral last week, her family thanked me and the other members of our community for giving Lopa a second place to call home. In these times when things are so unsettled, we can all take some really important lessons from Sweet Lopa. Be positive, spread kindness, appreciate every day that you have, and smile often. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Henry Goodhue, Hillsborough Education Association. Before I get to comments on the action agenda, I would just like to take a moment to recognize and thank the colleagues who came out from HES for LOPA, to thank them for sharing what they just did, and more importantly, to thank LOPA's family for sharing her with us for all of these years and the countless students whose lives she impacted. Question seems admittedly trivial after that. Just asking for clarification on 11.2, please. There was some mention in the committee reports as well as in Mr. Marini's comments in the beginning about just clarifying certain things that are on the agenda. There's a number of line item transfers. There were questions raised about those just from people who had looked at the agenda as well as on some of the community forums, and I appreciate that we can't respond to those directly in the forum. So I was hoping that the board could provide some clarification on those line items as they have stood out unlike ones in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We are Alex and Krish from the Public Relations Sub-Team of Robotics Team 75, the Robo Raiders. We'd like to thank you for your video and your support for the upcoming season. Your video was presented during our virtual kickoff, uplifting our entire team with its thoughtful message. We can't wait to move forward into the season and accomplish amazing things with all of you at our side. The Team 75 Robo Raiders have been hosting our prestigious LEGO League competition, Burrow Blast, for the past 15 years. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we've adapted the competition to a virtual setting for the second year in a row. 6 teams were able to advance to the state tournament in December last year. Team 75's Burrow Blast competition has shown that the oldest continuous robotics team in New Jersey is also one of the most inventive. As well as being successful on the playing field, it is our goal to make a positive impact on our community. At the start of the pandemic, our team made 376 face masks for frontline workers as part of our RoboCares initiative via the Somerset County Emergency Relief Center. Last season, we began using the Charity Miles app that converts the distance you exercise into money that benefits charity organizations such as the Malala Fund. This motivated team members to remain active and contribute to our community while being stuck at home. We also created clothing to donate to the Samaritan Homeless Intern Program. Additionally, members of the Team 75 contributed pet food and homemade toys to local animal shelters, and many food donations were given to the local food bank. Finally, our recent partnership with IBM Canada has allowed us to internationally inspire young women to pursue STEM fields.
In response to the surge of cases, Team 75 has demonstrated their flexibility by pivoting to hybrid meetings. This allows some of us to be able to work virtually in order to protect the high-risk mentors. Sub-teams meet in the warehouse on a need basis to keep our work efficient while also keeping us safe. We did not let the virtual setting interfere with our productivity. Not only did we make great progress over the past 2 years, but we've also established new community outreach programs. One of our successful initiatives was STEAM On, created in 2020 during the start of the pandemic, to engage young students in STEAM-related activities through YouTube videos. As the COVID restrictions start to lift, we began conducting in-person events for students, and we continue to post on our YouTube channel as well. The Robo Raiders' growth during these past 2 years have demonstrated that the strength of Team 75's mission and values are able to transcend barriers even as formidable as the pandemic. The Robo Raiders did not let the pandemic impede in our teamwork and morale. Our public relations sub-team has been working on building the team's social media presence and also recently started the Spirit Days and Team Challenges to bring together our almost 125 members in team spirit, and everyone's participating. At kickoff, along with your encouraging video, we received and presented inspiring words from many of our other important sponsors and supporters. We held our FRC virtual live stream and are so excited to begin working on our new challenge, Rapid React. Thank you for your continued support, and we can't wait to update you on our progress this year.
Thank you very much. Are there any additional comments related to the action agenda?
Good evening, Stefania Lockwood, Millstone River Road. Mr. Gillett, I promise this isn't personal. We're on the same team on this one. You were quoted as saying, to a great extent, the financial problems of the district...
Is this related to the action?
Yes, it is. It's context.
Okay.
To a great extent, the financial problems the district is facing are not of its own making. And the audit that has been authorized, I expect, will give us some answers beyond what was Mr. Gillett's point in that statement. However, with the change to the bylaws ongoing, and the lack of confidence in the board, something else that Mr. Gillett himself recognized, I think that a measure of confidence to the community would be demonstrated if Mr. Gillett were to recognize that being the Operations and Finance Chair of a Board of Education that is under investigation, when he has gone on the record saying that he is the one with the most familiarity with the district's finances, is something that is not easy for the community to look at. I would ask that Mr. Gillett recognize this and recuse himself, or work with Mr. Marini to change assignments as part of the bylaw change, should the Finance Committee and Operations be all rolled into one. Bluntly, the only person who's been here the whole time as the person who is the person that is most likely to have caused us a problem shouldn't be the person who's charged with overseeing it. And if the board wants to do something to improve confidence in the community, that is a very concrete and direct action that could be taken by someone that I clearly don't agree with. But if we could see eye to eye on this, I think it would go a long way towards building bridges with the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Seeing no other individuals, I will close the first public comment session. We will move on to the action agenda.
All right. So, the acting superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the education agenda as follows. 9.1, motion to approve professional travel-related expenses. 9.2, motion to approve submission of amendment for FY 2022 and accept funds with FY 2021 carryover for Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. 9.3, motion to approve submission of amendment for FY 2022 and accept funds with FY 2021 carryover for Elementary and Secondary Education Act, or ESEA. 9.4, motion to approve revised curriculum. 9.5, motion to approve submission of the NJDOE English Language Learner 3-year plan. 9.6, motion to approve policies and regulations for second reading. 9.7, motion to approve 2022-2023 district calendar. And that's it for that.
Okay. Can I get a motion in a second?
I would like to pull
We need to, let's motion second, then we can remove and separate.
So moved.
No, I think he has to run first.
Before?
Right? Doesn't he have to make a motion to remove something?
Before?
There will be a motion to remove first, yes.
Okay, so your motion,
I would like to make a motion to remove 9.7 from the agenda tonight and bring it back to the Education Committee.
do I have a second?
Second.
Second, okay, great. We'll take a roll. Was there already discussion on that?
So is this the motion, we're just voting on removing 9.7? I thought we normally just pull it.
We had a set agenda, we're voting to remove the school calendar approval from the superintendent's actions. Okay? Any other discussion? All right, we'll take,
Did I have a second? I'm sorry, thank you.
all right, take roll.
Mr.
Okay. Excuse me, no. I wonder if 9.7 in the agenda is to approve the school calendar, and we all vote yes on this now. Will it show up on the minutes that we all approved this school calendar?
Yes.
So you want us to vote no on the school calendar?
No.
The motion on the floor is to remove 9.7 from the action agenda.
All right,
We're tabling it.
We're tabling it.
I got you.
So just to clarify, if we vote yes,
It will remove it.
It will get removed.
Correct.
Right, yes.
All right, let's take roll.
Okay. Mr. Albanese,
Yes.
Mr. Gillette,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Kidd,
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Bader,
Yes.
Ms. Nurse,
Yes.
Mr. Oliver,
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo,
Yes.
Mr. Marini.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. All right, now we will take a motion and a second to approve on 9-1 through 9-6. Can I get a motion and a second?
Do we want to, and then 9A through lump them together? 9-1 through 9-6 and 9A through?
There is no 9-8.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought there was.
Nope.
My
Oh, that's the last one.
Okay, my apologies.
That's great.
So moved.
Oh, 9-7,
Second.
9-7.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Do we have, so we have one, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion on 9-1 through 9-6? All right, let's take roll.
Okay. Mr. Albanese,
Yes.
Mr. Gillette,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Kidd,
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Bader,
Yes.
Ms. Nurse,
Yes.
Mr. Oliver,
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo,
Yes.
Mr. Marini.
Yes,
Thank
motion
you.
passes.
Okay. It's going down too. So, the acting superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the human resources agenda as follows. 10.1, motion to approve resolution for a temporary purchasing agent. 10.2, motion to approve resolution to create a position. 10.3, motion to approve retirements and resignations. 10.4, motion to approve transfer or change in assignment. 10.5, motion to approve contract change. 10.6, motion to approve revised salary for 2021-2022. 10.7, motion to rescind a mentor contract. 10.8, motion to approve revised sixth period coverage. 10.9, motion to approve revised leaves of absence. 10.10, motion to approve revised leave replacement teacher. 10.11, motion to approve leaves of absence. 10.12, motion to approve appointments. 10.13, motion to approve school business administrator / board secretary. 10.14, motion to approve acting director for curriculum and instruction. 10.15, motion to approve homeless liaison. 10.16, motion to approve spring coaches for the 2021-2022 school year. 10.17, motion to approve summer enrichment program staff 2022. 10.18, motion to approve mentor and buddy assignments. 10.19, motion to approve student teachers. 10.20, motion to approve sixth period coverage. 10.21, motion to approve seventh period coverage. 10.22, motion to pre-approve extra coverage. 10.23, motion to approve extra coverage. And 10.24, motion to approve group changes.
All right, so as it pertains to motions 10.1 through 10.24, can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
A second.
Thank you.
Any discussion by the board?
I assume you're recognizing me.
Yes,
Because you looked at
Mr.
me.
Gillette.
You looked- On 10.2, I see some of the new, or some of the positions that we're approving tonight have the title acting or temporary in them, but 10.2 does not have state in the title that acting or temporary, and I'm sorry, I don't have the resolution in front of me, my computer's just showing like a, I don't know what it's showing like a screensaver. But does the resolution, can you clarify, does the resolution indicate that this is a position for a certain period of time?
Well, the resolution is just to create the position.
Okay.
It's not the actual putting of a person in the position. That's
Okay.
10 point,
Which one is that?
that's 10.14.
Okay.
And the acting in that regard
Oh,
means
so
it's
that's, okay, so that
temporary.
refers to that one?
Right.
Okay.
It's two separate things. We
All
have to
right,
create the
creating
position
it,
in
all right.
order
I
to
thought
appoint
they-
somebody to it.
All right, so those are the, okay, those are the same, so, and it's acting. All right, so, but even so, when we have when we create an acting position, it's usually because we mean to fill that with a permanent position, with a person into that position permanently at some point.
Not necessarily.
Really? Okay.
Well, okay, let me put it this way. In this case, there's somebody already in the position permanently.
I got you. All right. No.
And I'm acting in a different role.
No, but, we're not supposed to contradict the superintendent, right, Gene? But we have a position, assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction. We don't have a director of curriculum instruction. I want you to clarify for the public that we have no intention of creating a permanent position in addition to assistant superintendent as director of curriculum instruction.
Yes.
I just want to clarify for the public. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
That is not the intent.
I'm sorry I was roundabout to get there.
No, that is not the intent.
Okay.
The intent is not to do that, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gillette.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the action agenda? All right, with that, we will take a roll.
Mr. Albanese.
Yes.
Mr. Gillette.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Kidd.
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Bader.
Yes.
Ms. Nurse.
Yes.
Mr. Oliver.
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo.
Yes.
Mr. Marini.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Okay. The acting superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the operations agenda as follows. 11.1, motion to approve monthly bills. 11.2, motion to approve line item transfers. 11.3, motion to approve resolution for the Hillsborough High School gymnasium floor first quote. Motion, or 11.4, motion to approve resolution for the Hillsborough High School gymnasium floor second quote. 11.5, motion to approve facility usage resolution. 11.6, motion to approve change in out-of-district placement. 11.7, motion to approve bylaw for first reading. And 11.8, motion to accept donations.
Thank you. As it pertains to 11.1 through 11.8, can we get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion by the board?
Yes.
Ms. Nurse?
Can you please separate out 11.2?
We can separate out 11.2. And to the question raised by Mr. Goodhue, this will be covered in the superintendent's report. Thank you. Any other comment by the board? And you wanted to separate 11.2, correct?
Yes,
All right.
please.
So we will first approve 11.1 and 11.3 through 11.8. Can we take a roll?
Mr. Albanese.
Yes.
Mr. Gillette.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Kidd.
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Bader.
Yes.
Ms. Nurse.
Yes.
Mr. Oliver.
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo.
Yes.
Mr. Marini.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. As it pertains to 11.2, is there a request for additional discussion?
Not at this time.
No? Okay, we will take a roll.
Mr. Albanese.
Yes.
Mr. Gillette.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Kidd.
Yes.
Ms. Lanning Bader.
Yes.
Ms. Nurse.
Abstain?
Mr. Oliver.
Yes.
Mr. Trujillo.
Yes.
Mr. Marini.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to the acting superintendent's report.
Okay, I'm going to say my statements first, and then I'll do the presentations,
Awesome.
if that's okay. So,
Please.
all right, I would like to start tonight's report remembering Mrs. Lopa Sarkar, a beloved instructional assistant at Hillsborough Elementary School, who, as you've heard already, passed away last week following a brave battle with cancer. Mrs. Sarkar used every moment to make those around her feel important and cared about with a depth of humanity and sincerity that was truly special. Born in Calcutta, India, and eventually moving to the United States, Mrs. Sarkar loved many aspects of the arts, earning her master's degree in literature. A resident of Hillsborough, she and her husband Sam raised their sons who attended Hillsborough schools. Those fortunate enough to know Mrs. Sarkar will forever remember her laugh, her gentle voice, and the light that she brought with her every time she entered a room. During the early days of the pandemic, Mrs. Sarkar was also one of the voices of morning mindfulness in HES's morning announcements, helping students and staff alike start the day calmly and positively during a very upsetting time. This is the perfect example of how the students and staff who have worked with Mrs. Sarkar have benefited from knowing this wonderful woman. Mrs. Sarkar loved HES, her colleagues, and most of all, her students. She saw the good in everyone and left a positive imprint on all of us. On behalf of Mrs. Eckstein, the principal of HES, the Board of Education, and all of the Hillsborough Township Public School District, I offer my condolences to her family, co-workers, and students. As discussed during tonight's operations agenda, 2 motions were passed regarding the Hillsborough High School gymnasium floor. I'm pleased that since we hired our interim BA and consulting assistant BA, we are now able to move forward on this project that was held up due to the need for additional materials, which required further discussions with our insurance carrier and the subsequent vendor approval required by the board. And with me acting as superintendent, I don't hold a BA certification, so we needed to wait for an interim BA to be put in place to do so. Thank you to the students, staff, and athletes for your patience. It's my understanding that the work should be able to start in the next few days. With regards to the line item transfers, there have been many things that have been put on hold since we have not had an interim BA for the last month. Along with those are the bills and line item transfers, and then things have been identified and I guess uncovered is the best way as the new BA is learning the role, and there were some line item transfers that were missed over the past couple of months, and or we're unsure as to whether or not they were done appropriately, so that is the reason why they are on tonight's agenda, so that we can clean everything up for the board. So, as a follow-up to the school messenger sent out last night, I would like to remind families of the updated guidance from the New Jersey Department of Health. Effective February 1st, students 12 years and older are considered fully vaccinated if they are 2 weeks past their second dose of Pfizer or Moderna, or 2 weeks past their single dose of Johnson & Johnson vaccines, and have received the booster if eligible. Additionally, students who have tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 90 days will also follow the guidelines for vaccinated students. Please note that the quarantine periods have not changed. The important new information is that as of February 1st, a booster is required to be considered fully vaccinated for students 12 and older, if eligible. Finally, the Hillsborough Department of Health is holding a vaccination booster clinic on January 27th from 2:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Please visit the COVID-19 information on the district website for additional information. And with that, I have a presentation, which is required by the state. We administered the Start Strong assessments in the fall, in September of 2021, and I'm here to present the results to you tonight. So the Start Strong assessments were administered at the end of September 2021 and tested students in English language arts, mathematics, and science. The Start Strong assessments were administered to meet the federal requirements for the 2020-2021 school year and do not replace the NJSLA testing requirement for the 2021-2022 school year. The results of the Start Strong assessments are being used in conjunction with local assessments to inform the support of student learning throughout the year. The Start Strong assessments assess students on a subset of prioritized prior year academic standards to provide information on the level of support a student may need to engage in grade level content. The Start Strong assessments were expressly designed to inform instruction by providing educators as well as parents and guardians with an early indication of the level of supports students may need during the school year. Due to the shortened testing time and efficient question types to allow for immediate results to be viewed and analyzed by educators, the Start Strong results must be interpreted differently and cannot be used for comparisons or inferences about student proficiency the way the NJSLA results can. The Start Strong assessments were not designed for these purposes. This table shows the content alignment for each grade level. As stated previously, the Start Strong assessments assess students on a subset of prioritized prior year academic standards. While both the Start Strong assessments for Algebra 1 and Geometry are based on grade 8 learning standards, the Start Strong assessment for Algebra 1 contains more items from the grade 8 learning standards relevant to algebraic concepts, and the Start Strong assessment for Geometry contains more items from the grade 8 learning standards relevant to geometry concepts. The Start Strong assessment's primary purpose is to provide instructional information to classroom teachers and to school and/or district leaders about students' needs for additional support this year. The Start Strong assessment produces classroom-level information as a standards-based complement to the resources used locally to evaluate the needs of students. These assessments were not designed to compare any individual student, school, district Start Strong data to any state-level data for Start Strong, nor should comparisons be made to any NJSLA data. They also were not designed to predict future student performance on the NJSLA, nor was it designed to estimate what score a student would receive if they had taken the NJSLA in the spring of 2021. The Start Strong assessments are classroom assessments designed to inform instruction by gauging students' current understanding of learning standards that should have been previously taught. As such, they are used to inform pacing adjustments to the curriculum, differentiation, intervention, and targeted support as warranted. The results are used by classroom teachers to provide just-in-time learning of prior year standards to support the mastery of content this year. Parents recently received the ISRs in the mail, individual student reports, in the mail, along with instructions to access the state's parent portal of results. Parents are invited to engage in conversations with their child's teacher or teachers regarding the support their child may need during the school year. This slide and the following slides will report a global view of student results on the Start Strong assessments. This table displays the number of students who took each assessment along with the total number of students who took assessments in ELA, math, and science. Students are categorized into one of 3 suggested support levels, each of which is defined by a range of possible raw scores on the Start Strong assessment. The goal of these classifications is to provide some guidance regarding the amount of support that may be needed this year. The 3 support levels for the Start Strong assessment are Level 1, strong support may be needed, Level 2, some support may be needed, and Level 3, less support may be needed. The support levels on the Start Strong assessment are directly derived from the NJSLA performance levels. However, because there are only 3 Start Strong support classifications as compared to 4 or 5 NJSLA performance levels, there is not a one-to-one mapping. Instead, some of the Start Strong assessment support levels correspond to 2 adjacent NJSLA performance levels as shown in the table. Again, the Start Strong assessment was not designed to predict future performance on the NJSLA, nor was it designed to estimate what score a student would have gotten if they had taken the NJSLA in the spring of 2021. The Start Strong assessment was developed in response to the disruption in education caused by the pandemic and was designed specifically to inform instruction this year. Thus, all students are described as possibly needing support regardless of how well they perform on the Start Strong assessment. Students for whom less support may be needed may or may not require additional academic instructional support in the tested content area, while students for whom strong support may be needed will likely benefit from considerable academic instructional support in the tested content area. This table displays the number and percent of students in each support level for each of the grade levels administered the Start Strong English Language Arts assessment. All of the ELA items were 2-part evidence-based selected response items. This type of item typically combines a traditional multiple choice item in the first part with a multiple choice or multi-select item in the second part. The student provides evidence in the second part to support their answer for the first part. The Start Strong assessment in ELA assessed only reading, assessing reading information, and reading literature. Each form contained 1 literature passage and 1 informational passage. For each passage, students read the passage and then answered related questions. This table displays the number and percent of students in each support level for each of the grade levels or math courses administered the Start Strong Mathematics Assessment. For math, the items included multiple choice, multi-select, and technology-enhanced items. With multiple choice items, students were asked to select a single correct response from 4 possible answer choices. With multi-select items, students were asked to select multiple correct responses, usually 2 or 3, depending on the grade level, from a list of possible answer choices, usually 5 to 7, depending on the grade level. The technology-enhanced items are alternative interaction items, drag and drop, matching, that are not open-ended. The Start Strong assessment for Algebra 1 contains more items from grade 8 learning standards relevant to algebraic concepts. The Start Strong assessment for geometry contains more items from the grade 8 learning standards relevant to geometry concepts. And the Start Strong assessment for Algebra 2 is based on Algebra 1 concepts. This table displays the number and percent of students in each support level for each of the grade levels administered the Start Strong Science Assessment. Like math, for science, the items include a multiple choice, multi-select, and technology-enhanced items. The NJSLA Science is a summative test designed to be administered at the end of grades 5, 8, and 11, and since the Start Strong assessment is intended to be administered at the beginning of the school year, assessing prior year standards, it was administered to students in grades 6, 9, and 12. The NJSLA Science encompasses standards taught over several years, therefore, the Start Strong Science Assessment did as well. For example, the Start Strong Science Assessment in grade 6 covered material taught in grades 3 through 5. However, since the Start Strong assessment is a shorter test than the NJSLA Science with distinctly different purpose, it covered only a subset of the associated learning. This table displays the number and percent of students in each of the support levels for grade 4 English Language Arts Start Strong assessment for each elementary school in the district. Because we have 6 schools, we have to break out the data by the 6 schools because the last table just showed it as grade 4. Again, please note that the results should not be compared across schools. The assessments were not designed to compare any individual student, school, or district. They were designed to inform instruction by gauging students' current understanding of learning standards that should have been previously taught. This table displays the number and percent of students in each support level for the grade 4 mathematics Start Strong assessment for each elementary school in the district. And again, please note that the results should not be compared across schools because the assessments were not designed to do so. The following slides depict graphs showing student performance on the Start Strong assessments by various demographics. This slide displays the distribution of student performance on the English Language Arts Start Strong assessments by race. Strong support may be needed as depicted by the red bar, some support by the yellow bar, and less support by the green bar. This slide displays the distribution of student performance on the Mathematics Start Strong assessment by race. Again, strong support may be needed as depicted by the red bar, some support by the yellow bar, less support by the green bar. This slide displays the distribution of student performance on the Science Start Strong assessment by race. Strong support may be needed is depicted by the red bar, some support by the yellow bar, less support by the green bar. This slide displays the distribution of student performance on the English Language Arts Start Strong assessment by gender. The bars remain the same, red for strong, yellow for some, green for less. This slide displays the distribution of student performance on the Mathematics Start Strong assessment by gender. This slide displays the distribution of student performance on the Start Strong assessment, on the Science Start Strong assessment by gender. This slide displays the distribution of student performance on the English Language Arts Start Strong assessment by program. This slide displays the distribution of student performance on the Mathematics Start Strong assessment by program. This slide displays the distribution of student performance on the Science Start Strong assessment by program. Supervisors and teachers are using the results of the Start Strong assessments to inform instruction and to provide appropriate ongoing support of students' learning throughout the year. Additionally, the Start Strong results are being used in conjunction with benchmark assessments to provide targeted instruction for learning acceleration. And that concludes that presentation. All right, next up, I would like to invite Ms. Jessica Smedley up to the podium so that she can give us the 2020-2021 HIB grade report.
Hi, everyone. Can you hit the plus, just so that shows a little bit bigger there? So this is the 2020-2021, hopefully that's the last time I'm saying that school year, HIB grade report. So this is our self-assessment data. This information is decided in conjunction with each school safety and climate team. The anti-bullying specialists produce this report every year. Our grades have stayed really consistent across the last several years. We're slightly lower than we were in previous years, but I think all of that can really be explained by the restrictions we had due to COVID and our not being able to have assemblies in our lower grades like we have before. We've usually had many different assemblies and programs within school, and without having visitors in our school for the last school year, we weren't able to offer as many. We did some online character education assemblies that addressed anti-bullying, but fewer than we had in previous years. The other area where we consistently have lower grades than perhaps we'd like, but we haven't found a way to get over this hump yet, is the training of staff members who are consultants for us or approved vendors. So our bus drivers who don't work for us, you can't rate yourself as having trained your entire staff, and we don't train our contracted service providers. So that's we're not able to get all of the points in that area. So the only other place that we dipped a little bit lower than we did in previous years was reporting, and a lot of that was just that we didn't always hit the 10-day mark for investigating and getting all the way through the investigation, which is really because we were unable to reach some students or students were sick. During the investigations, we needed to wait, and so that went beyond the 10 days. So we talk about this on a monthly basis. Again, this was for the complete 10-month school year for last year, and then in the spring I will come back and talk to you more about the reporting period 2, which represents all of our incidents that we've had between July 1st and December 31st of 2021. Any questions? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So January is School Board Recognition Month, and as such, I'd like to read a proclamation. Whereas New Jersey's public schools serve nearly 1.4 million children in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, and whereas New Jersey's 5,000 local Board of Education members and charter school trustees devote countless hours without remuneration to the oversight of school district operations, including finances, policy, curriculum, and staffing. And whereas As the policy-making bodies for local school districts, New Jersey's local boards of education endeavor to meet the challenges facing public schools and to help students attain the education necessary to excel in college and the workplace and to enable them to compete in a global economy. And whereas local boards of education have contributed to New Jersey being among the leading states in measures of academic quality, such as National Assessment of Educational Progress Scores and the preparation for college through advanced placement courses and other curricular offerings. And whereas the New Jersey School Boards Association has declared January 2022 to be School Board Recognition Month, and whereas by making meaningful contributions to public education, the dedicated members of local school boards have greatly enhanced the quality of life in our state. Now therefore I, Philip D. Murphy, Governor of the State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim January 2020 as School Board Recognition Month in New Jersey. And I would like to extend my thanks to the countless hours and the support that our Board of Education provides to the students of our district.
Thank you. All right. With that, we will move on to comments from the board and public again. I'll read the statement. We very much welcome input from the public. During board meetings, there will be 2 30-minute periods of time that the meeting will be open for public comment, where members of the public are invited to comment, which they may do if they are attending in person. During the second public comment period, members of the public may comment on any school or school district issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to residents of the school district as per bylaw 0167. Before you state your comment, you will be asked to provide your name and address. There is a 3-minute limit on public comment. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board believes that there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent will address the comment. There may be times when a member of the public makes a comment or asks a question about personnel or hiring decisions. Kindly note that the Open Public Meetings Act and privacy rights of public employees encompassed therein do not permit the board to discuss personnel issues in public session.
Good evening. My name is Joyce Eldridge Howard. I'm at 75 Weber Avenue. I first like to say thank you for the overview of the HIV report and the Start Strong to Inform Instruction. I thought that was a wonderful thing for the teachers, and especially during these times that we live in. My main purpose tonight, is to, I was looking at the, and I'm just going to go over this just for the record. I want to ask, first I noticed that there's 1 teacher that was hired, 3 replacement teachers, and 4 instructional assistants. And this is for the record. I would like to know if you know it all tonight, and if you don't, you can perhaps tell us later. How many of those 8 teachers were of African American descent or people of color? The second thing I wanted to mention, I think that I know it has been difficult in some instances to find candidates, but as a member of the Hillsborough Black Parent and Citizens Coalition, we're going to make every effort to reach out to the colleges and universities, sororities, fraternities, in order to support these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comment?
Phil Gans, 94 Marshall Road. I want to speak to you tonight just to address the way we make decisions about what is and is not allowed in school during COVID. As often, these decisions being made by some of our administrators seem arbitrary at best and not consistent with science, data, facts, and logic. Recently, I received an email from my daughter's teacher, who was wonderful, by the way, about a district-wide decision that all elementary school students would be prohibited this year from distributing Valentine's Day cards to their classmates in school. Upon seeing this, I emailed the principal to inquire as to why this decision was made. Maybe it wasn't related to COVID, I was just curious. And I was told that it was due, quote, to a rise in COVID transmission rates across the state at this time. I find this logic to be a bit odd, given that we've recently seen transmission rates come crashing down to their lowest levels in months. With that said, our athletic teams here in Hillsborough are allowed to practice and compete, and they even do so without masks. While I am a big supporter of athletics, and I do believe that allowing our athletes to compete is absolutely the right thing to do, I'm not criticizing that at all. But I just ask how the district can justify not allowing elementary school children to pass out Valentine's Day cards to their friends, even while wearing a mask. Why is this deemed to be a riskier activity than varsity athletics? Previously, when decisions like this were made, it was blamed on the fact that elementary school students could not yet be vaccinated. We're now at a point where elementary students can be vaccinated, and parents have had plenty of time to vaccinate their children if they so choose. That should no longer be a reason or justification for these types of decisions. Making this decision even more dubious is the fact that we all know papers are frequently passed from teacher to student and from student to student in the classroom. No one is saying that shouldn't be done, but it's the same exact risk level as passing out a paper Valentine's Day card. In fact, tonight, agendas for this meeting, like I have in my hand, were passed out to the public. Does the board believe passing paper is safe, or should we stop doing that at board meetings as well? It just seems a bit contradictory. Now, I acknowledge that whether or not kids are allowed to pass out Valentine's Day cards is not the most pressing issue before the district at this point in time. But it does reflect an extremely flawed and inconsistent decision-making process in the district that should be addressed. I'd like to understand who made this district-wide decision that passing out pieces of paper amongst children was too dangerous. It seems wildly inconsistent with other district policies and frankly inconsistent with common sense. And I call on this board to hold the administrators accountable for these types of decisions, and I ask that you reverse this decision and return a little bit of normalcy and joy to our children who have lost so much over the last 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Good evening, Stefania Lockwood, Stone River Road. Right? Like, little pieces of paper, they're this big. Like, he's got a point. Excuse me. I mentioned the last time I was here how much Hillsborough right now reminds me of Edison when I was growing up, and I want to take a moment, unfortunately they left because it got late, but I want to take a moment to share my support for our South Asian neighbors. That's one of the things where Hillsborough and Edison are very similar, is that there is a huge influx of new cultures, and in this case, largely from the same parts of the world. And that's one of the things that Edison didn't do a good job with, was that. So that's getting ahead of this and being a leader in integrating these holidays would do, a great message, which I'm glad the board has chosen to do, of confidence. And I've been saying that a lot to our elected officials in town lately. There is a crisis of confidence in this community. The people who have been here for a long time may not see it as such. The people who, apparently we talk about votes at these meetings now, even though we're not supposed to, may not see it as such, but the simple fact of the matter is that objectively, Hillsborough is in the media for bad news, period. So, given the opportunities to put Hillsborough in the media for good news, we don't. It's dumb. Sorry, I used to teach middle school. Sometimes you got to say it that way. It's dumb, it's stupid. We should be making good decisions and putting Hillsborough in the news for the right reasons. We should be taking leadership in how we handle our storm recovery efforts. We should be taking leadership in how we integrate these cultures that have already been integrated thousands of times in our state already, and make sure that we don't make the mistakes that these other communities have made. We should be getting ahead of making sure that we have enough classrooms for the construction that the town doesn't even want. I said at the township committee meeting, it's a system. The Board of Education and the Township Committee operate independently, but they can't ignore each other. The township committee doesn't like construction. We don't like the influx of kids. It's all linked together. I understand that that is a hot button issue, and I understand, but it's a great example. If it's not in our control, we still have to fix it. We still have to have a place to put these kids. And we're distracted by where is our money. We're distracted by what's going on with our policing, which I know is not this body's fault. We're distracted by why is our athletic teams getting certain privileges, but at the same time, why don't we have a floor for our gym? This is not what your jobs are. Your jobs are to take care of these kids. Your guys' jobs are to make sure that regardless of how they end up in this town, the fact that they are here, that Hillsborough was grown into a community that people want to live in, that they want their children to go to school. You need to deliver on that for those people, not pack it up and take it away once their kids get to school. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Okay, with that, I will close public comment. Okay, I will read the following resolution. Whereas acting superintendent of schools has requested that the board disenroll a student whose name is on file with the board office based on information that the student is not entitled to a tuition-free public education from the board. And whereas on or about January 13th, 2022, the superintendent provided the student's parent with notice of the parent's right to a disenrollment hearing in the event that the parent did not agree with the superintendent's recommendation. And whereas the parent's attorney presented evidence and argument to the board in closed executive session on the student's behalf on January 24th, 2022. And whereas the board considered the evidence presented by the student's parent and by the administration, and whereas the board has determined the student's parent has not proven the student is entitled to a tuition-free education from the board pursuant to NJSA 18A:38-1, and whereas board policy 5111 permits the board to allow a non-resident student to attend school free of charge contingent upon the student's maintenance of a good standards of citizenship and discipline. And whereas the board has determined that the student's individual circumstances justify the student to continue to attend school in Hillsborough Township Public School District for the remainder of 2021-2022 school year, now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby permits the student to continue to attend school in the Hillsborough Township Public School District for the remainder of 2021-2022 school year, contingent upon the student's maintenance of good standards of citizenship and discipline as expressly permitted by board policy 5111. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion by the board? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Albanese.
Yes.
Mr. Gillette.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Kidd.
Yes.
Ms. Lenning Bader.
Yes.
Ms. Nurse.
Yes.
Mr. Oliver.
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo.
No.
Mr. Marini.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution passes. With that, I would like to open up to the board for any general comments or discussion. Mr. Hill?
I have several liaison reports. I'd like to report that the Municipal Alliance met on January 14th, and Mrs. Mailer from the middle school talked about the Hats Not Hate program that ran, which is an anti-bullying program. Hundreds of blue hats were donated to the middle school, and every student who wanted one was able to get one to promote a positive school climate. Also, there were hat kits that were donated, and students are now making hats to pay it forward to another school. Mrs. Mailer and school counselors will host a virtual stress management webinar for parents and students on Wednesday, February 16th. And as Ms. Satz reported at a previous board meeting, the Alliance had won a grant for the Chris Herron First Day film, and an Alliance subcommittee is working on plans to present the film to the community. Next, the Borough Safe Committee had met on January 21st, and so I wanted folks to mark their calendars for a virtual Hope for Tomorrow event on Wednesday, February 23rd. And there will be an in-person Hope for Tomorrow event on Friday, May 6th. Then I had attended the Somerset County School Boards Association meeting on January 20th, where there was a presentation on the board's role in curriculum presented by William Kimmick, who is the curriculum director in Warren Township and is also the Somerville board president. He reminded board members that districts are obligated to have curriculum that meets state standards and that curriculum is a continually evolving process. He said that process questions about how the curriculum is selected are appropriate and gave examples of questions board members could ask about the district's curriculum, such as how are we revising curriculum and the delivery of instruction based on an analysis of statewide assessment data and other student achievement data. He also referred to the school board's book, Fundamentals of School Board Membership, which I have shared previously electronically with board members. And next, there will be a Garden State Coalition's School virtual meeting this Wednesday, January 26th. And if any board members wish to receive their electronic newsletter, please let me know and I will have your email address added. And finally, I'm so happy that Ray's here today with us. At a previous board meeting, I'd mentioned that our student representative, Ray Fofana, had written a book, Ray Paints a Self-Portrait, that Mrs. Nurse and I have purchased. And it was wonderful, and we just wanted to congratulate you, Ray, and thank you for, writing this beautiful book.
All right. Any other comment from the board? Okay, so for the two questions that were asked in the last public comment, we're going to review those and return some information. Ms. Nurse?
I'm glad that it was brought to our attention about the Valentine's Day cards. I'm hoping that maybe as a district we can think about that or have more discussion. I would encourage that. I think we have enough science to prove that we can possibly do that safely. Also, just, I was thinking about whether to pass it on to Education Committee or just, have a discussion or talk about it, mention it here, but in thinking about the holidays and the calendar for next year, while you're talking about Diwali and where that could fall within the calendar for the 22-23 school year, maybe also reopening discussion about Juneteenth as well. So we can keep with the times of what we consider federal holidays. Just something to discuss in the committee.
All right, thank you for your comment, Ms. Nurse. Any other board comment? With that, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, meeting is adjourned.